go.
So freedom is the ability to exist and be and move through space safely and securely. So those two things, you might say, well, safely and securely, like, doesn't that mean the same thing? Um, well, safely, I mean to be without harm or threat, right? Safely. But securely means I have the ability to be in that space. I have the financial resources to be in that space. I don't have to depend on others for me being in a space, for me existing. So that's what I think about when I think about freedom.
Okay, that's an awesome answer. That's an awesome answer.
Thank you.
The second question was, it is, can you describe what freedom feels like?
Ooh, freedom feels like being able um, be to breathe, just to breathe deeply, to inhale and exhale um and be calm in that space, whatever space you're in, to be seen but not hyper surveilled. So when I feel seen, I feel free, but I don't want to be surveilled either, like
Right,
followed around.
right, right,
I don't
right.
want to be invisible. I don't think some people might think that there's freedom and invisibility, but I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a
I want to
balance.
be seen. I want to be validated in some way. And so to feel validated is some kind of freedom to me. And I think that's just from socialization, social pressure, but being seen, but also feeling like I can be in a space without judgment as well. So that's freedom. It feels like being in a space without feeling judged. The feeling part is really confusing to me. Just like,
Yeah.
because I don't know if I've ever felt free.
I mean, I'll have a fourth question for you, but yeah, that's and that'll go into the fourth question. I mean, it's a very hard, but what is it to feel free?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I mean, we kind of I think with the way we misuse the term,
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is people believe that other people experience something that they don't experience, but those people don't experience what they think they experience. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? So you think
Mm-hmm.
somebody else is somehow some fairy flying off into the universe and they're,
They got it all figured out and they free.
right.
They're really not.
And they don't. And so we all have varying, I don't even think it was varying degrees of freedom. I mean, there are varying degrees of freedom. Yes, and of course, some people do have varying, but I think a lot of us don't really understand what it is to just say, yeah, I'm free. Or I am
Right.
free and I feel free. You know what I'm saying? People are always like, I don't know, I don't have freedom. And it's like,
Yeah, there's definitely, I think we experience moments of freedom. I think we feel free in moments. So there are moments when I'm like feeling free, but in the back of my mind, there's always those things that I have to come back to because I can't be free for long because I have to work to pay for this freedom. Right? Or do I? See, that's why this question is
or,
hard.
or do you, you know?
Because,
Or
are houseless people free? They don't have that's controversial.
people like to say stuff like, I'm gonna go and live in the woods, or I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get off the grid and I'm gonna farm and I'm gonna be free. And it's like, are you really free? Because you still have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're
Right.
not that, you still have to do things. You still are, you know what I'm saying? You can say, yo, I'm out here alone and nobody can tell me what to do, but you still have to get up and you still got to do these things. You still got you got to fend for others. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like there is it a mental state? Is it a physical state? Is it social state, but what is it? So, I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. This is the first interview for me today. So
Oh, good.
I like
Okay.
when,
Okay. We
yeah,
setting
you're
the
the first
tone.
one, and I just woke up, so it's like, um,
Rodney, it's noon 30. I mean, but
yes. And I woke up I went to bed at 5. So
oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah. I gotta get it when it gets it.
yeah. So
Um,
I'm getting started, and my alarm's gone off 3 times this morning already. So
right. I think it's like for some people, it's not having to conform. Like when you feel like you're not having to conform, that's a type of freedom to them.
yeah.
Um, and so when there are moments when I don't feel like I'm conforming, I feel free. I have a feeling of freedom. But again, those are moments because most of the time I am conforming.
Yeah.
I think we feel like we need to conform. I feel like I need to conform, but let's put it that way.
Is your I really don't even want to touch on that part of the subject, but I feel like it's gonna happen sooner or later. But
I
it's
mean,
like,
you can cut it.
no, yeah, I can. But is your concept of freedom or your concept of you being free based on race? And I really don't really want to. I want this to be the what I'm trying to do completely with the project is uh, touch on a place where we all as humans deal with this. And race is part of it, right? Because of
Mhm.
social constructs. But there's a part where it's like, I don't want to ask it, but I'm asking it. And like I said, I can't edit this part out. But for you, freedom.
Part of it does the feeling, the reason I think I don't feel free is partially because of race. So when I say that I want to exist in space and time, I want to be securely and safely, the reason that I don't feel safe or free is because I don't feel like I can move securely and safely. And so the safely is because of the hypervigilance or the hyper surveillance, um, the way that we have been historically treated, maybe. That's baggage that I'm carrying. And so the baggage doesn't really allow me to be truly free.
Yeah.
Security, in terms of financial security, again, that's loaded as well. The
Right.
ability to move through these spaces, without like boundaries. It's all kind of built up around that. I don't think we can divorce. For me, it can't be divorced that much.
Yet, if you lived in Ghana right now, would you believe it's kind of like one of those things? Like, there's somebody in Ghana that's like, yo, I am not free at all. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like, there's somebody in Nigeria right now is like, oh no, this ain't it, pimping. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
so it's kind of like we say it, but it's kind of like and so it's kind of funny because I also didn't want this to be all black folks or black folks within our age range or black folks with similar experience because everybody's gonna say I don't feel free, and it's like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but like if you were in South Africa right now, which is South Africa now, and you're
Right.
middle class African South African in South Africa right now, and they're like, yo, do you feel free? And somebody says, no, I don't feel free. And you're like, but you literally can, you have everything is set up in your society now to say, yo, you can speak to whatever issues, whatever, I don't know what's the word. I'm sorry, I'm still waking up.
It's cool.
You can speak to whatever injustices out loud. Like you can be like, they need to give up that land. You can
Right.
say this
Mm-hmm,
stuff. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? It is so what is freedom? You know what I'm saying? Like, when will you know what I'm saying? Like, when will you be free? When are you free? You know what I'm saying? Like that, and
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
it's just a hardcore,
Yeah. I mean, so if we take race out of it, even if you say, where can you be? Where can you exist safely and securely? And that's the only criteria. Then some people will say, yeah, I always feel safe and secure wherever I am. I belong, right? I can be. Then that's a sort of freedom. And it doesn't matter. Some people always feel that way, and some people have degrees of that.
Right. So okay, so if we say, I'm speak for somebody white, that some white colonial,
Mhm.
early 1900s, who says, "Oh, I have to go to Congo." Why is he going to the Congo? Because somehow he doesn't feel free. But he gets to the Congo, and I'm not talking about what's his name? I'm not talking about Leopold. I'm not talking about anybody
Right,
like
right, right, right. Hmm.
I'm talking about an average person that's,
Hmm.
not even the average person, because everybody is states of misunderstanding what freedom is, or trying to figure out what freedom is and trying to get free. Um, is that person freer than anybody else? I mean, yeah, I guess so, to a degree, yeah. But they're still held to something. There's still something that's always, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just
It so I guess is the being held to something is that, I mean, psychologically speaking, because I thought about this too. You just took me down a rabbit hole. If we think in terms of Jungian psychology, id, ego, superego. And the id is the thing that is just like you do whatever the fuck you want to do, right?
right,
No consciousness of right or wrong. It's just what feel your animal brain. That would be true freedom, but we have evolved past that. Wouldn't is it? And is that evolution or de-evolution?
right. Because if you evolve past it, then what does it become? If it's like you free yourself to then
Conform in some way.
and to then put yourself back in some sort of bondage, excuse me.
Right.
Yeah. So
Good luck with this.
I mean, no, I think it's just a good. I think it's a good. The whole well, for me, the whole thing with this thing is like thought. Like, are we thinking before we say these things? Are we thinking
Hmm.
before you yell liberate? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Or you continue to tell your kids that you got to get free, you got to get liberated, and your kids go online and speak to being, they sound like they're literally on in a concentration camp, when in fact
Hmm.
they have everything, they have passports, they can get on a plane right now, they can do whatever they want, you know what I'm saying, like
Hmm.
they have access. But if you read their comments, you, we can't do nothing, and it's like, yo, like you're literally like, how is this possible?
Right.
How do you, what has happened that we've gone from, hey, you know, there's a liberation struggle, there's understanding that, barriers have to be broken down, to now getting to a point where like you're self-inflicting, you're creating barriers, you're creating,
Your own bondage and
right,
instability.
you're creating these shackles that you're creating for your children, or that your children have read about a scene on TV or whatever, is now like, yes, they're back in the same place. So what is it? What are we doing? Like, so and it really is just thought. Like, how do we think beyond the easy conformative thought process that we have with, even within like maybe maybe it's African Americans, maybe as a cisgender male, maybe as,
Hmm.
I don't know, I don't, you name it.
Because when you first asked the question and I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, the ability to move through space safely and securely, the ability to move, right? And then I was like, okay, to just be and exist in a space. And I thought about my son, now just an aside, I thought about my son who's 30, and he came up for my birthday, and I have this vision of a life that I want for him that he doesn't want for himself. Right. They're big parts of it. And so this idea, he's second generation college educated on my side. On his dad, he's the third. But anyway, this idea that you were supposed to be doing better than me, like we set it up. So yeah, don't,
Yeah.
I know. So I have created some constructs for him. But he's up here, we're at the Kennedy Center, we're watching, Rockin' and somebody, Jazzy Jazz or something. And I say, this would be a great place to work because of what he does. He does sound engineering, he does music, production. I was like, so he's at a music venue. And I was like, you could do this. You could do this, something like this. And they're like, oh, well, let me take a look. This is what I'm actually doing. I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, oh, look, Gilliard Auditorium. This is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Sure.
They have this full-time position and you'd be great at it, right? And he looks at me and he looks at the position. He takes a look at it and he's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. However, for him, it was like, but it doesn't have the flexibility I want.
It's
I
not
want to be
right.
able to go on tour, to do my shows, to get off when I want to. And I'm like, benefits. You need to be, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, it's not my road. It's not my road. And I want him to be secure and safe. But at what cost?
Yeah.
At what cost?
Yeah. Okay.
And
I
it's
got
the cost of that freedom and that flexibility. And I really was not pleased with myself for being that person.
yeah.
And but I'm just like, dude, health insurance, man. Like, so yeah, but he has a choice. So this was the same woman, me, who when he first graduated from college and he was trying to get his first job. And the parameters were, dude, you got to cut your dreads. You can't wear your dreads
So he's
for
not
this particular thing.
right.
I said, hell no. I work too hard for you to have opportunities for you to cut your hair to conform. And he really appreciated that. You know what he did? He cut it anyway. He cut it anyway because he was ready. At that point, he was like, I just want a good job. And of course, the dreads are back. And he's like, now he's in that like hippie, I say hippie, I don't want to, whatever. It's this artistic artist stage that maybe he's not going to have the life that I envision for him, but he might be happier. So yeah, here we go. That was saying a lot.
I mean, you said it. You said it. I will say it. We got 10 minutes left.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Less than 10 minutes left. Okay, so I will add to that. I remember like I was telling my mom I wanted to go to Cuba for years. And this is like, I mean, I'm out of college, what I'm saying? Like, yeah, early 20s or whatever. I'm gonna go, oh my God, don't go to Cuba, baby. This is the same woman that was like, yeah, she made sure I was a part of like traveling to Europe, you know what I'm saying? But the son's something, oh, Cuba's so terrible. And of course it's, I know what the thought process was.
Right.
The Cuba came back, I was like, and she's like, oh, you went to Cuba? I was like, yeah, it was nice. It was like, but it's more so I'm just thinking about this idea, like we try to create the freedom and then
right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You want to control it. How do you control freedom?
How do you control freedom? Ooh. Okay, so very last question again. The last few seconds. Are you free?
Yes and no. Can I answer it that way? Yes and no. I am free to make the choice to be more free. I have the choice to give up everything that is limiting me, that is restricting my movement. I have a choice, but I choose to live within some confinement. Because I feel still responsibility for some people in my life. And so me being truly free would probably be to the detriment of some other people. Because I couldn't do the things that I would want to do for them. So it's my own responsibilities. and partially my own fear is why I'm not totally free. Because I'm like, I could do this job, for instance, what I'm doing for a living. I could strike out on my own and not have this position. I can be like a digital nomad, for instance, right? And travel, and I would still have to make money, right? I would still have to support myself, but I am choosing to stay in and be safe and secure. And for me, that's a kind of security.
It is.
So yes and no. I have more freedom than my mother had, right? I think. I think she would say the same thing.
Right.
More freedom than her mother had.
Yeah.
But do I really use that? I know this question was coming and I still wasn't prepared for it.
I don't think
Am I
anybody.
truly free?
Yeah, I don't think anybody. I'm waiting to. Yeah, I have several people that I'm like. I mean, it's less interviews than I want to have today, but I'm gonna. I'm. Yeah, time is tight, but it's like one or two answers. I'm waiting to hear what they say. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, because it's gonna jack up. I feel like it's gonna be like, again, it's the thing that everybody's like, everybody has an idea what freedom is, or a misconstrued idea what freedom is. And when they see other people and they say that person's free, they ain't got no problems. And you find out they're shit, and you're
Right.
like, oh, you,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So I think that's really what I'm trying to do is like, it's this bridge of humanity thing, you know what I'm saying? Thought and humanity. We're all here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I,
saying?
I, yeah.
It,
I, I,
you know,
I'm imprisoning myself. I know that
yeah.
by the judgments I place on my actions and the people around, like what I think I'm supposed to be doing, what I think I'm supposed to have. Like, I'm imposing my own presences, really. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk more. We'll talk more. But thank you.
you're very welcome. And I do, you can cut off the recording now.
Okay. Uh-oh.
How you doing?
Yeah, man. How you doing, man?
I'm right, yeah. Just working.
You still in Hawaii?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here for another couple of days. So the conference finishes yeah, on Friday, and I'm heading off Friday.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a nice weekend.
It's like here, getting a little muggier every day. So did you
Yeah,
get
same.
all three of the questions right?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah. Thank you for
Okay.
those.
And yeah, man. So I've done two of the interviews so far. Somebody missed theirs. I really want. I kind of feel like I want to do this as an ongoing thing. I need to have a certain number done before the show starts. I mean, I'm probably only gonna have. I'm gonna have less than 10 before the show starts, which is fine because I ain't got no time. I'm like literally, I got other stuff I got to get done. So, well, I'm gonna jump in, and ask the first question, and then you can kind of just, let's just riff and go with it. I am, like I said, I already hit the record button, but I really definitely wanted to get your take on these questions. So I'm gonna start off with, can you define freedom in your own words for me?
Yeah, so for me, freedom is a power and it's a practice. So it's the power to transform the world and ourselves and to build a new one. And we cultivate that power through struggling together with other people against the systems of unfreedom that surround us. So that's what I take freedom to be. It's both that power to change the world
Right.
and the way we kind of build that power through struggling with others.
Okay. Man, that's okay. So I don't even know how we unpack that, man, because that's like it's a lot more in depth than I was expecting right now already. So okay, so we're saying, so you're speaking, so let's start with so we're, give me a definition, give me another definition of freedom. Is there another definition that you use the work to create this framework for this? Because you're saying this is how you define it, but is there
Yeah.
another term? Is there another term? You know what I'm saying? Is there another way
Yeah,
to?
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the right way to ask the question, but you get what I'm
So
asking,
John Lewis says that freedom is a constant struggle, right?
right? Yes, because it is. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's on every level of your being. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
and so yeah, it really is the kind of so it's always about that finding like minds to battle against
That's it.
those things that are whatever systems, whatever systems you have in mind that are keeping you from
Yeah,
getting
from being who you want to be, or
right,
doing what you want to do,
right,
or feeling what you should feel.
right, right. Yeah,
All the things that kind of keep us down and lock us into certain paths.
yeah, and so can they be as simple? So I had this whole thing where I was like, a lot of what I was like seeing, like, and I always talk about being in the comments and all that kind of stuff and seeing like, we got to a point where you have like African American kids that are in well-to-do neighborhoods that live well, speaking to some sort of inability to do what they want to do, or they can't be this thing, but at the same time they're on their phone. Their mom just dropped them off at the mall. They got a shiesty on it. You know what I'm saying? They're like, they got $200 sneakers on. And it's like people have lost touch with the idea of the word freedom. Like it means
Yeah.
so many, it's begun to mean so many things other than trying to remove systems that, what I'm saying, keep you from doing
Yeah.
what you want to do. You know what I mean? So if you go to a march, there's people are yelling liberation, and you're like, and we're not talking about Gaza. That's a whole different. I'm talking about people in the United States going to them. I live 4 blocks from the Capitol building, 5 blocks from the Capitol building. Like it's literally right behind me. Yeah, Supreme Court is actually even closer. Supreme Court is literally 4. You know what I'm saying? So I like walk up there and I've watched so many different kinds of, demonstrations, marches, celebrations, whatever. But to hear somebody say liberation, you're like, you literally went and got a coffee. I saw you go to Starbucks, get your coffee, walk over here. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, have we lost touch with what these words really mean?
I mean, I think the demonstrations and protests are one little form of freedom.
Yeah.
And they can still be that, even though, at the same time, we feel like we've got to buy $200 sneakers, and we are, getting coffee from, folks in Costa Rica who are getting paid less than $1 a day.
Right.
So those are still forms of unfreedom. Those are
Right.
forms in which we dominate others, we exploit others, we don't understand ourselves, we lock ourselves into these patterns of thinking and these desires that are not good for us.
Right.
But I think if we can, not only change the world, but change ourselves with other people, that's what freedom is the process of doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is that. Yeah, it's basically once you begin the transformation with yourself and transforming yourself, that's how you I'm using the wrong terminology, but that's how you accelerate creating change in others. You know what I'm saying? You create the change
Yeah.
in yourself, and then therefore it creates where there has to be change in that system or in those around you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's some Jadot Krishnamurti right there. I'm actually yeah. Freedom from the was it Freedom from the Known? I think that's the right book. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different ways in which freedom begins in the self and then spreads out. But I
Right.
also want to say that freedom can begin, you don't even recognize that you're in the process of freeing yourself. It's that others kind of help you see that. So it might go from the
Right.
outside in as well.
And so, I mean, but so you're saying like you've seen other people trying to get free, literally trying to free themselves. You're like, yo, at a certain point, oh nah, I got to do this too.
Yeah.
You
And
know
you
what I'm
got to, yeah, exactly. And you see that their struggle is also in some way connected to yours.
Yes. So
So we can't be free until everyone's free. You know, so Fannie Lou Hamer has that line as
yeah,
well.
yeah, no doubt. And that is real. I mean, that is real, but we live in a and I think I was trying to figure out the right terminology to use it, but to use the other day when we were talking, it's like this idea of like um this individual fascism, this kind of idea that like I am important and my
Mm.
struggle is important. And although I understand and see your struggle, no, your struggle is not important. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? It's like I mean, I'm always a big proponent of Fred Hampton. You know what I'm saying? Fred Hampton. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Like, and not within the just the very classic, like he was a Black Panther and he wanted black people. It's more so the his, you know, his point of being like, I don't care if you're, you know, black, yellow, poor, white, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We're all trying to get free. You know what I'm saying? What we have, whatever we have to
Yeah.
do to all get free. And I think what gets lost is we all of a sudden we become this kind of really like this thing where it's like really just my struggle, your struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm not down for them. And it's like they really want the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know, it's like the fentanyl crisis and I don't the drug crisis in the Rust Belt. And then you hear like one of your friends say, heard an African American friend say, well, that's what they get. It's their turn. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted to hear anybody say that when, you know, crack epidemic was hitting our neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I don't want to hear somebody say, well, it's their turn. But, and I know that all communities do this. All, you know what I'm saying? We all have a tendency to,
To like look in.
right.
Yeah.
And that's a form, and I feel like that's a form of lost freedom too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree
You
with
know what
you.
I'm saying? And it's like,
Yeah.
because if you can't, it gets to the point where you're like seeing stuff where you're like, I mean, for me personally, I'm always like, man, I'm cool with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I just generally, I don't know where it came from. I grew up in a like a middle class neighborhood outside of Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? There was definitely racism, but there was also this kind of like, I mean, most of my friends growing up were like immigrants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
First generation immigrants, and it was like, yo, I'm cool with so and so from Korea. I'm cool with so and so from
Mhm.
Vietnam. I'm
Mhm.
cool. You know what I'm saying? And I have my black friends too. It's like, oh man, I feel like somehow we begin to lose that where you can't really speak to other people's struggles.
Yeah. And that's because, yeah, you're right. We get locked in our heads. We get locked in like me, because that's what the world is telling us we have to do to
Right.
survive. You know, you got to get a job, and your job's not someone else's job. And you got to protect your job against someone else's job. So the whole thing is set up so that we got to, and freedom is changing the way that you see that as well. I think that's what you're getting at.
Right. And so are we saying, is this one system? I mean, is
Oh,
there a dominant system that is this creating all of this or there, you know what I'm saying? Are there a multitude of systems that, you know, have begun to play off of each other? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there's some point in medieval times, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, feudal Japan was like, yo, we don't like nobody, you know what I'm saying? We want nobody here, you know what I'm saying? People like, yeah, we don't like nobody. And then you go to, you know, I don't know, around the same time, you got other people like we're traveling the world, but we're also enslaving people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, are these systems, you know what I'm saying? Is it one system? Is it multitude of systems?
I mean, that's a big one. I think now, I mean, you can look at it different ways, and sometimes it might be helpful to see it all as one system because, you know, what you're talking about, feudal Japan, and then, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
the Black Atlantic, they've like all become one part of one global system, you
Right.
know, that no one is outside. So I think that's true, but it's also true that, you know, racism in, say, China or like Hindu supremacy in India, or like anti-black racism in America, or anti-immigrant racism in America.
Right.
Those are in a sense different. So there can be multiple systems. You can see it that way. And then the question is, how do they connect? But there's also one system from a different point of view. And that kind of sees the connection. If you can see it that way, then you see the connection already.
And okay, and if you say, let's say you see the connection, and the connection is, I mean, the connection comes down to basically, I mean, I think there's a point where it's really just, you know, ideas around personal survival. And that's the what is that? The oh God, now I can't think of the term all of a sudden. Ernest Becker term. God, I can't think of it. My bad, man.
That's
But just the idea like I'm so much more important and my survival, you know what I'm saying? My group's survival, you know what I'm saying? It kind of keeps going, and it's just really a thought process. And that
yeah.
thought process is like it's a very inhumane part of us, but it's also very human. It's very
Hmm. Hmm.
animalistic approach to being like, yo, no, I've got to survive. And the way I survive is by saying they're not good. We need to take all their resources. Duh, 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 duh. But how do we? And so what I'm really trying to get at, what I'm really asking now is like what I'm asking you is like, how do we keep people from getting to that point? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you keep?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think to keep people from getting to that point, like across the board more generally, we got to change a lot about the whole way society is structured. But on a smaller scale, we can do all sorts of things. We can, like build little communities.
yeah,
We can go out and talk to people. We can support education that helps people kind of learn to see things differently. We can make art which challenges people and transforms the way that they kind of see themselves. So all these kinds of experiences, these relationships that we can create, they're also part of that like practice of freedom.
yeah.
And that's why they're trying to be shut down, right? That's why,
Right.
you know,
And so, and the thing is, so I think I always get, and again, I always get caught up in the balance of being like, yo, we gotta keep going, but it's also like
yeah,
the negative voice on the right and the left. The negative voices that are like, yo, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not the negative, but you got one set of voice saying, yeah, yeah, we can do it. You get another voice say, how do they say it? Like, I don't even know, man. It's so it's a crazy battlefield we're on where you got some soldiers running forward with you and then some are retreating at the same time. And they're retreating in such a manner that you're like, or the soldiers that are fighting with you are telling you that we're gonna disembowel we're gonna disembowel the POWs, and you're like, you can't do that either. You know what I mean? There's no, I mean, it's a constant fray. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
You're trying to keep people keep trying to keep people rolling with you, and you're trying to keep the people that's rolling with you from doing too much damage.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like it's a
Yeah,
weird,
because
like,
things, yeah, emotions that, and this is part of, what your second question was going to be, like what freedom feels like.
yeah,
That's why it's so important because it's about those feelings, about those emotions that are kind of generated in that practice.
yeah,
They can both help us, like see things differently, relate to other people differently, and they can also like stop us from being able to do that. They can
exactly.
redirect their energies towards, wanting to tear the other apart or to
Yeah.
be destructive or to hate ourselves, to hate others.
Right. And that's the part where it's like it's such a it's such an odd thing to try to balance between the two.
Yeah, because the anger is so important, right? That's
Yeah,
kind of one place it starts. You're like, you know,
you want
what is this?
somebody to be upset that a child was gunned down, you know what I'm saying, by the
Yeah,
police, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But you also
exactly.
don't but also I don't want to say that I hate all white people at that same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like you're like,
yeah.
I want this justice for this child. I want this system to change. I
Hmm.
also am not saying that I hate somebody that lives across the bridge. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah.
and so it's like and so how do you because you want to show that you know what I mean, because you want to show that you love the greater, you know, I love the greater human community, the greater human community. You know what I'm saying? Like I love humans. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to go anywhere and laugh with anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without thinking about like 30 seconds ago, I was like, oh, I really hate them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but you can also be angry with those people that you love, and anger can come out of love. So think of your close friends, right? Sometimes you just gotta
yeah,
you gotta tell them what's up.
yeah, and
You
so
do it out of love.
yeah, and I think so that's another part of it is like, you know, so I've been telling folks it's like, you know, it's a thought process. Like, you know, I really want people to think about what they're saying and doing. And also like I am one that's irritated with the idea of hearing every moment like, oh, we're the greatest and this is just love. And it's like, that's not love. Like
Mhm.
it's like that's some weird fetish. You know what I'm saying? Like you're fetishizing some shit. Like this ain't nah, man. Like
Mhm. Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want
Yeah.
to fetishize what this is. I don't want to fetishize. Like I know I'm fallible. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be able to speak to the point like you got to stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's terrible. That's whack. That's not. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you get
Like
it onto the like so every emotion, whether it's anger or love or whatever, it has these two sides. And you're
right.
pointing out that they can go good, they can go bad. They can go wrong, they can go right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a big question. How do we kind of shift them to going right, to doing good and not going the other way?
I mean, is that so? I mean, you're a professor, so you're a teacher. So it's like, how do you navigate that in like a classroom setting or just in general? Like you're like, you know, I can. Are you like, I can show you the way, but then I also gotta correct you, or are you like,
I mean, as a teacher, you got to let people find their own way and you got to help them build the community in the classroom. This is easier than say on the streets or whatever, right? But because in the classroom you got a kind of like enclosed space where you can, you know, create a kind of artificial like line around things and say this is where we are, you know, we here we trust each other. Here we can build a community, and
right,
so it's kind of an order, you know, it helps build a safe space in that way. But yeah, it's about building that trust, that care for others, where you can disagree with them, you can criticize what they say, but at the same time, you know that you're all trying to learn from each other,
right, and
that you're in it together.
yeah, so that's I think that's it's really important to it's important to be able to speak to both sides and for people to I think it's harder for people to be open to hearing that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard
Yeah.
medicine, bro, to be like, I mean, that was your march was great, but you know, the part where you decided to beat up the little old lady was not no good. And they were like, what were you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think creating balance is extremely, extremely difficult when you're
Yeah.
talking about the idea of freedom.
Yeah, and spaces are really important as well. So that's why this, you know, what you were saying about the protests on the streets, like there's a certain energy there, but it's not an enclosed space, and that's the whole power of it, right? It's like it
Right.
is the streets. Um, but in a gallery or in a classroom. So one of my students had this amazing project. So she's both a philosophy major and a film major, and she did two different projects, and they're both about freedom in a sense. Um, and she's from the South, and she for her film project, she had these. She kind of collated all these clips of her family, in particular, her grandmother, Mama, who like was the the kind of family matriarch, and showed like how family was built and the care that women in her family had for the family, even though like all sorts of shit was going on with them and to them really. And so the movie's powerful, the film's powerful, but she created to present it this really, it was a white box space, it was a typical gallery, but she dimmed all the lights, put in a couch, had these scents, like had some memorabilia from her family. She wanted to create a space where you could connect to that history, her history, in a way that like brought you into that physically. It wasn't just a
Right.
description of.
And so here's the question. Like, I want to hear the story, the dope story about the dope family, right? That this is they knitted, they crocheted together, and created this whole. But I also want to hear the fucked up part too. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
there's plenty of the fucked up part. She's honest with that, but
yeah,
because
that's
of the
cool.
space, you can relate to that
Right,
from a place of care.
right. And I think that's kind of like this whole, man. Like, I mean, so it is, and keep saying balance, but it's like it's a wire, and that's still that balance of
Yeah.
like you're like, yo, like how do I speak to, you know, uh our fallibility and our like greatness at the same time, and
Mhm, mhm.
everybody in the room is still, what I mean, because people like pretty pictures, bro.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
a pretty flower on the wall is better than, you know what I'm saying? A piece of cotton, you know what I'm saying? Like it depends, you know what I mean? It's like, but you need both, don't you? Or how whatever it is, you need both. And I think that's what's missing. Like a lot of it are just missing that balance. So yeah.
Yeah.
Last question. Are you free?
Damn. I paused so long on this one, I didn't know how to answer it. I think we all have moments of freedom.
Hmm.
There's those moments of like self-understanding, of understanding others, of connection, of even if it's anger and passion and it's struggle, there's the moments where you kind of see how things could be better, how they could hang together.
Being present in the moment. That's awareness. That's just awareness.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the
Yeah.
moments of heightened attention where you kind of like,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you see something that you didn't see before.
Yep. This dude, Abraham, he's out of the Bronx. Abraham Scott. I think he's like a pastry chef or something like
Uh-huh.
that. I think either he said he's a baker or a pastry chef. Can't remember. I just did his interview a little while ago. First time ever meeting him. Said the same thing. He's like, it's
Ah,
just that,
beautiful.
and that's why I was like, yo, like that's the thing, like awareness, like being present in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like holding on to that attention space, that space, like, oh, I'm here right now, and this is what I need to do and can do. Not what I
Exactly.
need to do, excuse me, but this is what I can do right now. This is where I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be what you need to do. Maybe there's sometimes the feeling is that. And sometimes the feeling is like, oh, this is what yeah, like what I can do.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
because I think once you say you need to do it, then that puts pressure on the future instead
Hmm.
of can. This is what I can do. I can do this.
Ah, yeah, that's good. I
I can
like
move
that
this
too.
forward. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, man. All right, so sounds like you
Uh,
free, brother.
every now and then. I think every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
agree. I think I mean, of course, we all imprison ourselves to a certain degree, and we can, any of us can get up and, we have the ability to get up and go anywhere we want to go right now. You know what I'm saying? To a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and a lot of people don't have that. So, that's pretty lucky to be able to do that. I mean,
right.
I'm in Hawaii right now, so
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like I
yeah.
literally, yeah, I can just, man, I could drive off into the sunset right now. You know what I'm saying? Like if I wanted to. So, but am I free? No.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like I really want to hear, like, I'm trying to hear as many different takes on am I free? Because like, wow, are you? You know what I mean? Like, am I free? Are you free? I wonder about folks that don't believe that they're free at all. Because I'm sure there are some people, and I'm not talking about incarcerated individuals, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about people that just don't, they don't see it that way at all, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
I
an
think that's a
incredible,
lot of people. I mean,
yeah,
that's me most of the time as well, to be honest.
I'm a good 50-50, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I
I'm
mean, that's
50,
why your question is so good because it forced me to like think about that,
yeah,
find those moments again and like recognize that they're there.
yeah, and that's it. That's the part, like, and that recognition, the beauty is in that recognition, like, oh
Yeah.
no, like there's nothing. What negativity can you find in saying, "Oh man, I was free"? You know what I'm saying? Like that was a free moment. It was great, man. Oh man, because it brings about joy. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
joy.
exactly.
That's a good feeling, man. That's what this is all about. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's another feeling of freedom, joy, also like surprise, inspiration.
Inspiration,
Yeah.
definitely. inspiration is will free you up, man, and unexpected inspiration. Not when somebody's like, "Oh, how can I help inspire you?" You know what I'm saying? People say stuff like that. You know, the
Like that.
unintended muse. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like,
Yeah. That's it.
I have a funny thing, like it's weird. Like when I go for like, I walk and get my coffee or something, like seeing like kids play or like the whole way the playground set up. So I don't have kids, but watching that whole, it's like a little show for me. It's always like, yo, that is hilarious. Or like when kids lose like toys, like unintentionally, so they'll like be like some kind of random like toy. Like I used to take pictures of them all the time. I still do, but like I'll be like, I think that's like, because some other kid's gonna find that toy and is gonna pick that up. You know what I'm saying? Their mom is gonna be like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't play with that, but it's also like they're like, no, this is
No, this is I can go with it. Yeah.
no, this is a
Yeah.
whole So it is
Yeah.
that like the unintended muse, man. The joy itself, man.
Yeah.
Love the people that you love. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it's a beautiful world out here, bro. It's a beautiful world.
That it is. That it is.
Yeah, man. All right, so I'm gonna hit you up again. Probably have one more other thing for you.
Yeah, cool.
And,
Yeah, let me know.
and if I can, I gotta figure out if I can write up this thing for this other gallery. I ain't really got time, bro. But if I can get it in the next
Should be
2 days,
busy.
because this is right on. Like I just saw them post about it. I'm like, I'm more on target than even their post. So, yeah, man. But I'll hit you up, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate this.
All right, brother. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the chat again.
No doubt, man. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Uh, Recording is in process. So, can you define freedom in your own words for me?
Freedom is a sense of being that you're safe, you're protected, you're not harmed. Um, just being, that's freedom, with no kind of care in the world. Like when you were, like I was a kid, you had no cares in the world. You just was present, and you didn't feel your life was in danger, and this total positivity.
Right. Ah, that's a good one. It's a good total positivity. That's a good one to throw on. I don't think we mentioned that in the last one. Total positivity. Total positivity. Okay. All right. Second question. Can you describe what freedom feels like? And I think you kind of already did that just now, and unintentionally, but can you think about it again and say, can you describe what freedom feels like? I don't know. Did you freeze up again? That's hilarious. Take a screenshot just because, man. Oh, that's hilarious. You still there, brother? Uh-oh. We went in that. We're going in and out. Oh man. Let's see. I'm not recording again. Yeah, that's
Where
right.
are you?
I'm in
Where are
DC.
you?
I'm in DC. I'm right by the Capitol. This is all being they probably recording me, recording you. So, all right.
It's
So,
probably true.
yeah. So, can you describe what freedom feels like?
What freedom feels like? Freedom feels like peace,
Mm,
total tranquility. Um, just being totally present. You
okay.
know, just being. You don't have to be doing anything. Just present, peaceful. That's what it feels like. Calm.
Calm. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But is that what freedom feels like? Hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm at an age where I look at my life retrospectively, how I was a kid versus when I'm an adult. And I just feel, even though I went through a lot of trauma growing up in New York City, but there was a lot of peace, you know.
Mm-hmm.
As you become an adult and try to navigate in this world, there's so many systems in place that you kind of have to assimilate, to, you know, to kind of like, you know, adapt to. When you're a
Right.
kid, you don't have all that.
Nah.
Because those things, as you're a kid, you don't have that weight, you don't have that burden. But as you grow up, burdens are placed on you, and if you don't know how to adapt to these systems, that dims your light.
Yes. Continuously.
Yeah, it dims your light, and
Continuously,
you
your light
have
is
to,
being dimmed. Yep.
as you're an adult, you have to go back and get that light
Yeah.
to go forward. And if you
Yeah.
don't do that, you're not going to make it to where you want to go. For me, I remember as a kid, I had a premonition when I was 12, 13 years old. I saw myself in the future with a gray hair and beard when I was a kid, which was unusual because at the time, the expected rate for young Black men was 21 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of people in my family didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Particularly the men did not make it this far. To be at this age, at 57 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and see that I have life, I have lived more life than other people my family has lived.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And that's what I try to keep on, you know, just kind of go brighter and brighter and get that sense of joy and purpose back. And that's what the freedom was.
Mm-hmm.
That's what allows you to create and move forward. If you don't let go all that baggage, you can't go forward.
No, can't. You can't. Yeah. Speechless, man. Yeah. That's a great answer. Honestly, that's a great answer. And the last question, and it's funny, like, hopefully this will create more dialogue. I really want to create dialogue, and it's not about anyone's focused on any one group or anyone, anybody's personal belief system or revolution. I'm trying to be as open-minded as possible and get as many different answers to this, because I'm sure there are some very different answers out there. And I'm hoping this will be an ongoing project. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to be a part of it. I think, for me, we need, especially Black men in particular, I just think we have been conditioned not to talk.
Yeah.
Communicate, but we could, since you keep quiet and you carry your burden to your death.
Nah.
And that, I never felt that way as a kid.
But as an adult, the further you go along the journey, it's like they keep telling you.
And I've since a confirmation that what I felt as a kid was right.
Yeah.
To express your feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because my family told you can't cry. You cry. I used to cry all the time. And I realized that as you cry, it's a form of release.
It's a relief and a release.
It's a release. It's the wrong conditioning.
Yeah. So this is the last question.
Got it.
Are you free?
Am I free? I have moments of freedom. And the moments of freedom I have, I choose to align with that. I know what I know what brings me peace. I know by creating, I'm a chef, a pastry chef. So when I'm doing it, I'm giving it my all. And that's my peace.
That's your peace.
When I work out, that's my peace.
Right.
I don't need anything. I'm sufficient in those moments. So that's what it feels like, that to be free.
So, so
And I
are you,
and
again, are you free? Just ask that, are you free?
am I free? I'm
Yes.
free at the moment. I'm free.
And that,
I'm
there you
free in
go.
this. I'm free in this moment,
And that in your present moment here, right here in
right
this
now.
moment. Yeah.
That's all we. That's all we have.
That's awareness. That's awareness. Yeah.
That's all we have. We don't have the future, and we don't have the past.
Yeah.
All we have is right now.
Yeah.
So I'm free.
Right on, man. Right on. Perfect. That's a perfect ending to it. Thank you, Abraham. I'll send you an email later on. I'll connect with you on you because you're on Instagram, right?
I am on Instagram.
Okay. I thought I got your information off of Instagram. Well, Deanna got it. Anyway, we'll work it out. Thank you, man.
Okay.
I got these like back to back now. So like I got one.
No worries.
And
No
I'm not
worries.
good at this. This Zoom is not me. So I ain't free. All right, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a blessed day.
You too, man. Peace. Recording is in progress. Hey, man. So the first question is, can you define freedom in your own words for me?
I can try.
Okay.
I think I was always brought up that the only thing you really own in this world is your mind.
Okay.
That if your mind isn't free, you can't be free. And so I think, for me, I would say freedom is when you can express yourself, when you can have a thought that maybe isn't a popular thought, but you can express it. That you can be the opposition. You can be the voice of reason, but it's the freedom to go against a narrative. I think all other freedom comes out of that. Because when you look at totalitarian governments, what's the first thing they do? They shut down people's voices.
Right.
Lock up the artists. They re-educate the intellectuals. They tell people what they can say and what they cannot say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that to me, freedom is right here.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Hey man, this is very funny because like everybody's been kind of like right around that same like
Mhm.
we're all floating around the same space. I mean, as far as who
Yeah.
I've talked to today.
I think we're kind of learning that, because
Yeah.
I think social media has made us very, very judgy about, like people's opinions, and they're not supposed to have them. And
Yeah.
it's an odd time.
So yeah, so I was talking to the previous person I spoke with. We were talking about this idea of like this kind of like I heard the term and I'm not sure I'm even using it right, but still I'm gonna keep using this individual fascism. So like we've all become like these individual fascists. We're all
Yeah.
like, you can't do this and you can't say that, and my
Yeah.
ideas are right.
Yeah.
And
Well, it takes out critical thinking, right?
right.
Can't have critical thinking like that. Because you
Yeah.
only can have thesis. You can't have antithesis.
Right.
So how do you reach synthesis? How do you grow?
Mm. The only way you grow is through learning and
Right. But
experiencing.
how do you learn if you can't challenge?
Right.
If you can't try something that isn't, and I like individual fascism. The other phrase that pops into my head a lot is sanctified bullying.
Ooh.
Right? Like
Wait, where'd you get that one from?
I made it up in my own free mind, Buck.
Bullying. Yeah, but that's what it is. But it is it's a form of violence.
It is, and it's sanctimonious bullies. It's
Yeah.
like You know,
Yep.
I get to say whatever I want about you because you aren't seeing the world the way I am or thinking the way I am, and I can attack. I'm
And I can
justified.
I can
I'm-
justify this because I have found 2 other people that will like this comment and
Yeah, it's like this
or
idea.
laugh at it.
Like, I think freedom, you have freedom maybe is coming down to something as simple as the freedom to hold 2 opposing ideas in your head at the same
Same
time,
time. Yes.
express it,
To-
and not be vilified for it.
Right. And to understand that there's a balance to it. You know what I mean? So it's like
Um,
there's balance in this. There has to be balance in this, or this
right,
doesn't
right.
work. You know,
And it's an interesting time because there's a lot of people that feel entitled to squash others,
woo. Say
right?
that is and it is very much like everybody you can go online, you can go on social media. I mean, you can go somewhere and see somebody do something, then write about it and say that this is the worst person I've ever seen in my world and in the world. And they did
Right,
park their car 3 inches from the side of the street.
right,
They are absolutely the most horrible person
right.
ever in existence. And you'll be like,
Yeah, yeah. You know, or what about children? Like, how are children supposed to grow up taking risk in an environment where they get in a lot of trouble if they, you know, say the wrong thing and they watch it happen? And like, what about our old part of our brain, the reptilian part? What is that all about?
right.
It's about fitting in the tribe. Am I going to get ostracized? Am I going to be thrown out?
Well, then once
If
you think about once you're thinking about ostracization of any sort, then it's like that's death.
Yes,
Like
yes.
if you get kicked out of the tribe and you get kicked out of the village,
Yeah, how do you eat?
how do you survive? How do you fight off marauders on your own? How do you
Right. And that's what we're doing to each other with the internet and social media. We've like, you know, it's this big kind of, you're thrown out, you're canceled. That's what we call it, canceling. You, who are you to cancel a person?
right?
Seriously?
It's so odd though. It's so odd that somebody would want to do that on a medium that they decided that everybody can have a voice on.
Yeah, but not really. Like it's,
Yeah, it's a
you know,
hmm.
who some comedian said it's like ancient Rome in the Colosseum. Thumbs up, you live. Thumbs
Yep.
up,
And
you die.
that could change at any moment. You can say the wrong thing, and next thing you know,
Right.
you are out of here. You
Yeah.
know, and that's an interesting thing, man. This is really just it's kind of very interesting thing to see people try to find ways to imprison themselves in different things.
Yeah, and to kind of welcome it. And it's really odd and it's alarming, and AI is going to make it even more alarming, you know.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like it was something I was reading and they were talking about. It was some guy that I don't know, one of those some proclaimed, I don't know, uh speaker of the people. He speaks for the people, so whatever. And he was saying that he was talking about people shouldn't, it was something around like you only supposed to have, only supposed to meet one person in life and that'd be your partner, and that's it. Because anything else is you're not
Yeah,
supposed to do it. And it was like this thing, like, so people aren't really supposed to choose and have experiences to help them figure out what they want and need in life. And people were advocating whatever he was saying to the point where it was like, you're advocating for
cult.
right.
Right,
You're saying that this is it. These
right.
these are the 5 things you do, and that's it. And people are like, oh yeah, I've been with my wife for I've never been with anybody else ever. And it was like, that's good for you.
That's right. That's good for you. That's
That
good.
may not fit for
Right. somebody else.
for somebody else. And so it's very odd to see people, it's very odd to see a large number, alarming numbers of people agree with things that when they get offline, they don't agree with it. You know what I'm saying? In public, they may say that out loud, but when they get home, they don't agree with those things. You know what I mean? So it's very like,
Scared. It's like, you know, and even things like elections, you know, where, you know, AI with elections and, you know, I mean, I think tech can be amazing, but
in the
it's,
wrong hands each time. In the
yeah,
wrong hands, it just
I
becomes.
mean, it feels like we have 7 people running the world and they're all they're tech billionaires.
They're all tech billionaires. Yeah, they're all tech billionaires, and they're
They don't
all
live in our world.
they just want to be able to do yoga on mats with the Dalai Lama, and
Yeah. And you know, they don't, I mean, it's crazy, right? It's like we've got young teenagers committing suicide because they've been canceled or they've been held up to ridicule on
they're just
social,
overwhelmed by this stuff. They're just overwhelmed by everything, right?
and they're not free. I mean, I look
No.
back on my childhood. I'm 64. You know, we had to be home by 6 o'clock to set the table. And we had to do our chores on Saturday. We'd do chores every day. We had to do chores on Saturday and they had to be inspected before you could go out and play. But other than that, we were
Inspected.
free. Yeah, my mother, she was tough. And she didn't play. If you didn't do it right, you're doing it again. But everybody in the neighborhood had those chores.
Right.
And the rest of the time, we were free. We were expected to be respectful to people.
Mhm.
And we were expected, you know, to be honest. We were going to get in trouble if we, you know, somebody got back to my mother and was like, you know, Meg was sassing me. My mother would, you know, then I wasn't free in that moment, but I was free to make my choices,
Right.
you know. And if I made the choice to sass somebody and I got in trouble, that was my consequence. But, you know, then it was over and done with. That's my consequence. And, you know, you sass somebody, you're rude, you have to go make a face-to-face apology, you know, all that stuff. We all like had our stage where we took a candy bar from a store and, you know, your mother catches you were marched back to that store
Right.
and you had to walk the shame of walking and say, I'm sorry. But you know what? In that, your freedom comes because you don't have to, there's also freedom in owning your mistakes,
Yes. Ooh.
right? It's like, you know what? Yep, I'm human, screwed up, made a bad choice.
And so I think what we get lost in now, and not just now, I mean, these problems happen throughout time, but the idea that there's an amount of a need to be infallible, where
Yeah, you're gonna get in trouble.
right, but with that infallibility, you lose your humanity.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I'm always I try to be very, very conscious of. Like, it's okay not to be everything. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. Now
Robots will take care of that.
right. You should, of course, you should try your best and be great and be good and, work very hard, but can't do it all. You can't be it all. You can't be all the things, all the great things in the world. You just have to be who you are.
Right.
And in this current moment, you know what I mean? You have to be the best who you are in this current moment, and that's it.
And then you have to have the freedom to be that.
Yes.
But freedom is not about taking something away from somebody else. You know, it's not about like, I'm coming down on you, so I'm elevating myself. Because that's sanctified bullying, right? Look how virtuous I am. Look how awesome I am. I'm squashing you. I'm canceling you. I'm putting all those ugly comments. That is, like you said, individual fascism. But, you know, freedom is like,
I gotta make sure I'm using that term.
yeah. And you know, owning yourself.
Yep.
Owning your mind, owning your voice, owning your mistakes.
Yep.
You know, owning your learning curves.
Mm.
Own it. So what? Who cares?
Right.
we're not machines, thank God.
You're not. Trying hard to be one right now. I'm trying to get it all done.
I know. I hear you. I don't want to take up too much of your time
No,
because
no, you're
the
not.
more we record, the more you have to edit, Buck.
It's gonna be all right. The way I'm gonna do this, it's gonna work out. I'm probably gonna just let them flow. I'm not gonna chop them up too much. Next question is, I'm sorry, I just lost it that quick. I'm gonna skip ahead, man.
Okay.
I think we covered it. Can you describe what? No, but no, actually, I think you did answer what freedom feels like to you, right? Yeah.
I mean, I guess like freedom feels like to me just like maybe the absence of fear,
Mm-hmm.
and I think when you get older, it's much easier when you're older because you're like, who cares? I don't care what you think of me. But I feel for the young.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to be young, but man, they're getting slammed by
Yeah, they get slammed by all kind of
all
kind of pressures from
pressure.
everywhere.
Look a certain way and be a certain way and now think a certain way. And yeah.
Okay. And the last question, are you free?
I think I'm freer than most and not as free as maybe others. Like I don't have an addiction, so that's a freedom. I got raised to be true to myself, so that was a massive freedom. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's entirely free, but what if you were entirely free, would you know it?
That's the
Because
question too. That's
no,
the question. That's another question. That's the other question. Like, would you know if you were really free? What would it feel like? Nothing.
there'd be no resistance.
There'd be
There'd
nothing.
be no,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's like, every day you try to be true to yourself and without being unkind to others.
Hmm.
And that in there lies your freedom because you're true to yourself. But if you're trampling on others, you're taking their freedom. So you try not to do that. And then
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to be free if you act in a way that is ugly. Cause like everybody I know that's like bashing on others, they're so angry. I'm like, oh my Lord, I'd be exhausted if I were you. Like, and they and part of freedom is just having the perspective to be appreciative and grateful for what you have. And there's so much anger where people are mad because that person's this, or it's like, as Miss Hawkins used to say, stay in your lane.
And that there's peace staying in your lane. Yeah, there's peace in your
You
lane.
don't need to be telling somebody else what to do.
Yeah. You begin to take away from your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Buck. I can't wait to see your
You
show.
keep going. If you have something else you want to add, add one more piece. Come on.
I'm just really interested to see your show. And I just think it's fantastic that you're addressing freedom because, it's the artist and the creators that, our job in life is to remind people of humanity.
Yeah.
And that's our job. And it's a really important job. And I love that I love your work, but I love this project that you're doing this because, it's, I don't know if you saw Apple TV had a horrible commercial about their AI and computers smashing instruments. And yeah, and it's like, you've got AI that it's all learning from us,
Right.
but it's not creating. The people
No.
mistake for because creation is, and this is what's so important about being free, right? Creation is, and it doesn't have to be writing a script or painting. You're creative when you're raising a person. You're creative every time you're solving a problem. But creation is unique to the individual. And the individual has to be free to have experiences and process those experiences and not be shamed and not feel ashamed. They have to be honest, but with themselves. But you know, something happens or we're trying to create something, we bring it up through the internal prism in ourselves, right? The prism that is colored by all our experiences.
Yeah.
So 57 actors can do Hamlet, and it's going to come out 57 ways with the same words.
Yep.
And that's what's,
That's
you know. But if we were perfect, we could not create.
yes, exactly. I mean, you can make something, you can't create something. And
Can't create. The act of creation is different, and as we know, painful sometimes.
every time.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Every time. Yeah, I would
And
say that this is the show right now is kind of, it's been kicking my butt for a minute.
I bet it's going to be fantastic.
Coming together though.
Tony and I will be there.
Okay, yeah, I'll make sure yeah, I'll pass them on. I don't know if I have the flyers yet. I think she was working on the flyers. I'll see if she got. I got a poster though. I have I'm putting one up in the coffee shop. So
Good. At
Yeah.
Jacobs.
no, I'm putting it up at Buffalo and Bergen.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, Jacobs too, that's a good one.
Is that a good one?
Yeah, I think so. They get a lot of traffic over there. And
Oh.
it's real neighborhoody.
Eastern
And
Market? One at Eastern Market?
no, it's over on oh shucks. It's like it's you know, like where the northeast branch of the library is?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so not if you're walking down Maryland, but the street.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah, yeah, right there.
Maryland.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's Jacobs.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Ezekiel's gets a lot of traffic too, over by I don't know if it's on E or F, like right near Union Station, maybe a block.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they get a lot of foot traffic.
Okay.
Neighborhoody. And it's right, you know, that one, Ezekiel's is just like if here's Burger and Bergen or whatever,
Mhm.
if you were walking down Mass and you would turn right before the Thurgood Marshall building. So what's that, 2nd Street maybe?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's up on the you mean if you make a left. Oh no, you're talking about easy. Yeah, because it's like a Christian-owned kind of spot.
Yeah, but they get a ton of people.
Christian-owned. I forgot what their whole deal is. But yeah, no doubt.
I don't like their green tea personally, but but they get a ton of traffic.
Okay.
All right, here.
I'll check them out.
See you later.
Thank you, Meg. See you later. See you, neighbor. Bye.
Bye.